If your nervous system feels tired and you're longing for a deeper, more embodied connection with the divine, I'd love to invite you to my free Sacred Intimacy Snapshot. In just a few minutes, you'll discover which area of intimacy in your life is asking for care right now, and you'll receive a gentle 4-part mini course to help you tend to what's next on your journey. You can take it at innerlightcompanion.com. Welcome to the Inner Light Companion, a space to personalize your spiritual journey with the 12 sacred intimacies. I'm Tamara, your companion and guide. Each episode of this podcast explores a facet of connection with the divine, yourself, others, and the world, offering clear markers to recognize, gentle practices to try, and stories that help you grow what's strong and tend to what needs to grow. Move at your pace and use the name for the holy that fits your heart. This isn't therapy or advice. It's a meeting of souls, a place to listen deeply, ask real questions, and remember the wisdom already within you. I invite you now to take a breath. Let's begin. If you've been following this podcast through the Religious Freedoms series, you've heard me name a lot of what was taken from us in high control religion. The freedom to think for yourself, the freedom to speak your truth, the freedom to claim your own body, the freedom to rest without guilt. Those are just a few of them, and I know that work can feel heavy, necessary, but heavy. So today I want to do something different. Today I want to give you something back, not just what was stolen, but what was always yours. What was never actually taken, even though you were taught you'd lost it. Today we're talking about teachings from the masters, real spiritual principles, the kind that don't require permission, don't demand performance, and don't measure your worthiness. I'm talking about the way to a higher life, direct contact with the divine. I'm going to share with you what I've learned from Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings in the original lessons and the second coming of Christ, from the Bhagavad Gita, from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and from my own decades of spiritual practice and clinical work. Because here's what I know after 30 years as a therapist and 6 years deep into meditation practice. The light is within you. Nobody can take that away. And the way to a higher life isn't about becoming worthy. It's about remembering connection. So let's talk about what real spirituality looks like, not the controlled, fear-based version, the real life version. Yogananda teaches something revolutionary in the second coming of Christ. He says that what is necessary is for the cosmic wisdom and divine perception of Jesus to speak again through each person's own experience and understanding of the infinite Christ consciousness that was incarnate in Jesus. Let me say that again because it is so important. The second coming of Christ isn't about Jesus returning to earth in physical form. It's about Christ's consciousness returning in you. It's about you experiencing directly, personally, in your own body and spirit, the infinite love, wisdom, and divine presence that Jesus embodied. And here's the most amazing part. You don't need a middleman for this. You don't need a bishop's approval. You don't need a temple recommend. You don't need to prove your worthiness through endless service or perfect obedience. What you need is meditation and action. Direct contact with the divine through spiritual practice. Now, when I say meditation, I don't mean sitting cross-legged for hours feeling like you're failing because your mind won't stop. Meditation is a discipline, a practice, like strengthening a muscle. Yogananda teaches that meditation allows you to feel presence of divine love, inspire internal growth, not external performance, but inner transformation, access intuition and insights, they become your direct line to divine guidance. And here's what I've experienced in my own practice over the past 6 years. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about feeling divine presence. It's about learning to recognize the still small voice of your own inner knowing, what Yogananda calls the Christ consciousness, what I call your connection with the divine. The more you practice, the more you feel it, the more you trust it, the more your intuition becomes a muscle that you can rely on. In my recent notes while I was studying the original lessons of Yogananda that I have in my possession, I wrote a line that feels especially important for those of us coming out of high control religion. And it is, spirituality can't be bought. High control systems teach the opposite. They condition you to believe that if you pay enough tithing, give enough service, offer enough time, money, or obedience, then maybe you'll be worthy of divine love and spiritual experiences. Tithing, service, alms, and offerings become part of an invisible transaction. Give enough, and God will bless you. Serve enough, and you'll be protected. Sacrifice enough, and you'll be worthy. That is spiritual commerce, not spiritual truth. The masters teach something very different. Your relationship with the divine is not for sale. It cannot be bought, earned, or transacted. It is inherent, rooted in who you are, not in what you give. What is true is that there are many paths and many practices that you can express your spirituality through. They include meditation, contemplation, service, creativity, generosity, sacred study, beauty, silence. When these things are chosen freely from love and inner alignment, they can deepen your connection with the divine. But the difference is this. In high control religion, tithing and service were often used as proof of worthiness and levers of control. In true spiritual practice, any form of giving becomes meaningful only when it flows from agency, love, and overflow, not from fear, duty, or pressure. So yes, there are several paths. Yes, spiritual practices matter, but the heart of it is this. Spirituality cannot be bought. It can only be lived, experienced, and remembered. One of the things that I love most about Yogananda's teachings is this. He doesn't separate the spiritual from the everyday. He teaches that spirituality isn't reserved for temples or prayer closets or mountain retreats. Spirituality is how you live. In his teachings, he shows that the divine presence permeates everything. The food you eat, the body you inhabit, the work you do, the relationships you build. Every moment is an opportunity to recognize the sacred. And I've spent the last several years developing a framework that I call the 12 sacred intimacies. 12 specific ways that spirituality shows up in daily life, each one of them aligned with different personalities and spiritual strengths. And what I've realized is that Yogananda's principle that the spiritual and the everyday are inseparable is the foundation of that framework. When you understand that the divine is present everywhere, you can begin to recognize it. In the breath you take, you experience spiritual intimacy. In the beauty you witness, there is aesthetic intimacy. In the conversations you have, you can experience communication intimacy. And in the crises you navigate, you can strengthen your crisis intimacy. In the creativity express, you are living creative intimacy with the divine. The spiritual becomes real when you feel it. When you recognize that the divine isn't somewhere else waiting for you to be good enough. The divine is in here, in you, in this moment. And your job isn't to earn that presence. Your job is to notice it, to practice recognizing it, to let it transform how you move through the world. So let's name what high control religion did to this beautiful truth that I just explained in the form of 4 lies that create a deceitful pattern to control you. Lie number 1, you are a sinner, constantly failing. In Mormon theology and many other high control systems, you are taught from childhood that you are a sinner. Not you sometimes sin, not you're human and learning. You are a sinner. That's your identity. And every thought, every desire, every question becomes evidence of your sinful nature. You're taught to see yourself through a lens of constant failure. And even when you're trying your hardest, even when you're serving until you're exhausted, even when you're performing belief you don't feel, you're never enough. You're always falling short. And the only way to fix it, more obedience, more sacrifice, more suppression of your authentic self. Before we continue, I want to name something. I've been creating a small space called Grace's World because I believe spirituality belongs with humanness, not above it. Grace's World isn't teaching or advice. It's just ordinary moments, mugs filled with hot drinks, mornings, feelings that don't need fixing. If that sounds like something you'd like to sit with, you're welcome to visit. Just go to innerlightcompanion.com/Grace's World. And if you don't want to visit, that's completely okay. Let's continue. Take a beat. That's heavy. Line number 2, spirituality is a transaction. Another pattern many of us absorbed is a belief that spirituality is essentially pay to play. You were taught directly or indirectly that if you pay a full tithe, you qualify for certain spiritual privileges. If you serve without resting, your family will be blessed. If you sacrifice your time, money, and energy in the temple, it says, time, talents, energy, and anything you have and anything you will have in the future into the church, you'll be protected or prospered. This trains your nervous system to believe that divine love and spiritual belonging are conditional and purchasable. It turns tithing, service, temple attendance, alms, and offerings into spiritual currency instead of authentic expressions of devotion. That is exactly the opposite of what the masters teach. Lie number 3, spiritual experiences require institutional approval. This is another lie. Your direct experiences with the divine don't count unless they're approved by leadership. I laugh because I think it's funny, but I fell under that same lie and believed it as true. I gave all of my worth to whether or not the spiritual leadership would approve me. If you have a spiritual insight that contradicts church teaching, that's deception. If you feel the divine prompting you in a direction the institution doesn't approve, that's pride. If your meditation brings you peace outside of the temple, that's not real spirituality. This is spiritual gatekeeping, and it's devastating because it trains you to doubt your own inner knowing, to mistrust your intuition, and to override your direct connection with the divine in favor of someone else's interpretation. That's evil to me. The 4th lie. Meditation and inner practices are dangerous. Meditation, inner work, spiritual practices are portrayed as occult, dangerous, or lesser than approved church practices. I remember being taught that meditation was something that Eastern religions or the occult did, that it was suspect, that the only real way to connect with God was through prayer, and even then, only the right kind of prayer. Now, within the Mormon Church, there was only one sanctioned form of meditation, and I practiced it faithfully during my years as a believing member. And it was this: after you pray, stay still and listen for at least as long as you spoke in your prayer. You're supposed to be listening for answers. That's it. That was the approved inner practice. Brief, bounded, controlled. But anything beyond that, deep breathing, visualization, body awareness, extended contemplation, mantra, or focused meditation practices, those were worldly practices, not spiritual ones. But here's what I know now. The practices that actually work, that create direct divine connection, are the ones high control religions fear the most, because when you learn to meditate, you don't need them anymore. When you access your own intuition, you don't need their approval. When you feel the divine presence yourself, you can't be controlled. And here's what all of these lies do to your body. When you're taught that you're a sinner, your nervous system learns, I am bad, I am broken, I am unworthy. When your spiritual experiences are invalidated, your nervous system learns, I can't trust myself. When you're conditioned to believe spirituality can be bought through performance, your nervous system learns, love is conditional. I must earn safety through endless giving. When inner practices are forbidden, your nervous system learns, going inward is dangerous. Can you see how insidious all of this is? And you stay trapped, not just mentally, not just spiritually, somatically, in your body. Your nervous system keeps you vigilant, anxious, performing, achieving, because stopping feels like spiritual death, because you've been taught fear, not spirituality. So let's replace those lies with the truth. Truth number 1, you are not a sinner. You are someone constantly growing. Here's what Yogananda teaches. And this is a direct quote from Yogananda. That servant devotee who is consistent in governing all his faculties with wisdom finds complete self-mastery over himself by the permanent contact of the innate lordly Christ consciousness. Did you catch that? Not that sinner who finally stops being broken. That servant devotee who is consistent in governing his faculties. You're not defined by your sin. You're defined by your practice, by your consistency, by your willingness to keep growing. And I know that if you stayed inside that high control religion, whether it's Mormonism or another one, trying hard enough for long enough that it really damaged you, the keeping growing is something that you truly and honestly aspire to. But you did it out of fear. This teaching allows you to let go of the fear when you realize there's nothing wrong with you. And your desire to consistently grow is your greatest asset. The masters teach that spiritual development isn't about becoming worthy. It's about activating what's already within you. You're not trying to fix your brokenness. You're uncovering your wholeness. In my notes, I wrote, seeing self not as a sinner, but as someone constantly growing. That's the shift. You're not failing, you're becoming. You're not broken, you're evolving. Every meditation, every moment of self-awareness, every time you choose love over fear, you're not earning divine approval. You're remembering who you've always been. I found that so refreshing. Truth number 2. The light is within you, and nobody can take that away. Yogananda teaches about Christ consciousness as the infinite intelligence of God, omnipresent in every part and particle of creation. That means it's in you, not because you earned it, not because you're finally good enough, but because you exist. The divine light, what Yogananda calls Christ consciousness, what I call inner light, is already within you. It's been there all along. High control religion tried to convince you that it wasn't, that you had to get it through obedience, repentance, worthiness, temple attendance, endless service, or financial sacrifice. But that was a lie. The light was never gone. It was just hidden under layers of shame, fear, and religious trauma. The light within you is not something you purchase with tithing, service, or sacrifice. It's something you remember through practice, presence, and love. And now through meditation, through healing, through practice, you can uncover it. You're not becoming spiritual, you're remembering who you always were. Truth number 3. Intuition is your sacred guide. Here's another revolutionary teaching. Your intuition, that inner knowing, that gut feeling, that sense of yes or no, is divine guidance. Now, there are some guidelines around that to be able to understand, because one of the things that's naturally true is after you've left a high control religion, you stop trusting your gut feeling, your sense of yes or no. So there are ways of reconnecting with that. And I'm working on a program to help with making that reconnection happen for those of you who are interested. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Yogananda teaches that meditation inspires internal growth through intuition and insights. And I've never found anything to be more true. In my own practice over the past 6 years, I've discovered that there's a profound impact of meditation. It's become a better therapist to me than any therapist I could have ever found for myself. It's been responsible for some of the most major shifts and healing that you wouldn't naturally think of as spiritual growth. And here's why that matters. We're here for personal growth, to heal the wounds that high control religion saddled us with, to overcome the obstacles that kept us small. And what I've noticed is that my personal growth, whether you call it emotional, mental, or spiritual, has expanded exponentially because of this single meditation practice. Your intuition isn't suspect. It isn't dangerous. It isn't something to override. It's the voice of your higher self, your Christ consciousness, your direct line to the divine. And here's what I've learned. The more I meditate, the stronger my intuition becomes. Truthfully, really, like a muscle. The more I trust it, the clearer it gets. The more I act on it, even when it contradicts what I was taught, the more I realize this is the divine speaking through me, not to me from somewhere else. Your intuition doesn't need approval. It doesn't need validation from leadership. It is the validation. Truth number 4, you have levels of connection available to you. In my notes from Yogananda's teachings, I wrote about different levels of consciousness. Superconsciousness, conscious mind, and subconscious. Here's what that means. Your conscious mind is what you operate with daily, your thoughts, your decisions, your awareness. Your subconscious holds patterns, memories, conditioning, including religious trauma. But superconsciousness, that's where divine connection lives. Yogananda teaches that through meditation, you can access superconsciousness, a state where you experience direct knowing, profound peace, divine love, Christ consciousness, and oneness with all things. This isn't some mystical, unattainable state. This is available to you right now. Not because you've perfected yourself, but because you're willing to practice. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've felt it, even for a moment, you can't forget it. Your body knows. Your nervous system remembers. And that becomes your new baseline, your new truth from which to continue your healing journey. So let's take a moment right now to practice what I'm teaching. If you can, if you're in a good place for it, find a comfortable position. You can be sitting, lying down, or standing, whatever feels right for you in your body in this moment. I want you to just place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and feel the warmth of your own hands on your body. This is your body, not the church's, not anyone else's, yours. Now take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Let your belly expand. Hold it gently just for a second at the top. Then exhale slowly through your nose, letting all the tension release. Do that 2 more times. Slow, deep breath in through your nose, letting your belly expand. Hold gently at the top. You could also exhale through your mouth. So exhale slowly through your nose or mouth, whatever is comfortable, letting all the tension release. We're going to do that 1 more time. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Let your belly expand. Hold it for a second or 2 at the top. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. Let all of the tension release. Inhale presence. Exhale performance. Inhale connection. Exhale control. Inhale light. Exhale shame. Now, with your hands still on your heart and belly, say this out loud or silently. The light is within me. I am capable. I am constantly growing. My intuition is sacred. I trust my direct connection with the divine. Feel that in your body. The light is within me. I am capable. I am constantly growing. My intuition is sacred. I trust my direct connection with the divine. Notice what shifts. Maybe it's a softening. Maybe it's a release. Maybe it's just a moment of yes. Maybe there were tears. That's your nervous system recognizing truth. Now, I would invite you to gently invite the divine, however you understand it, to be present with you. Not above you, not judging you, with you, within you. You might say, Divine Presence, I invite you into this moment. I'm open to your guidance. I am ready to remember who I really am. And then just breathe. Just be. For 30 seconds or a minute or as long as it feels right. Let me repeat the prayer. And then I'll be silent for a minute so you can feel into it. Divine Presence, I invite you into this moment. I am open to your guidance. I am ready to remember who I really am. Now just breathe. This is meditation. Simple, direct, yours. So how do you take these teachings and make them real in your daily life? Here are 3 simple practices you could start today. Practice 1, daily meditation. Even just 5 minutes. You don't need an hour. You don't need to sit in perfect lotus position. You don't need to empty your mind completely. Start with 5 minutes. Set a timer. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. And most importantly, intend to feel divine presence. Not to achieve anything or to prove anything, just to feel. Over time, This becomes the foundation of your direct connection. Practice 2 is trust your intuition. Start small. If you've spent years overriding your intuition, start rebuilding trust in small ways. When you get a gut feeling about something, even something simple like which route to take home, what to eat for dinner, honor it. Don't second guess. Don't rationalize. Just act on it. The more you practice with small things, the more you'll trust your intuition with bigger decisions. And eventually you'll realize this inner knowing has been guiding you all along. Practice 3, reframe your spiritual practices. If you're still tithing, serving, or engaging in other spiritual practices, ask yourself, am I using this to try to buy safety, love, or approval from God? Or am I letting it be an expression of a connection I already have? Am I doing this because someone told me to, or because my soul is calling me to? If the answer is obligation, worthiness, or external pressure, you can stop. And if the answer is overflow, connection, or inner calling, you can continue, but on your own terms. Reclaim your practices. Make them yours. Here's what I want you to remember from today's episode. The light is within you. It always has been, and nobody can take that away. You are not a sinner. You are someone constantly growing, evolving, becoming. Your intuition is sacred. Trust it. It's the divine speaking through you. Direct connection is your birthright. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need to practice. Spirituality cannot be bought. It can only be lived, experienced, and remembered. The teachings from the masters, Yogananda, Patanjali, Jesus, Krishna, they all point to the same truth. The kingdom of God is within you. You may have heard that spoken as doctrine in a high control religion, but it really means within you, not in a building, not in an institution, not in someone else's approval, within you. And the way to a higher life, it's not about becoming worthy. It's about remembering connection. So go meditate. Trust your intuition. Reclaim your practices and remember, you were never too far from God. You were just taught to forget how close you've always been. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to the divine within. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about what your journey with meditation and direct divine connection has been. Send me a DM on Instagram at Inner Light Companion or reply to my weekly newsletter. I read every message and I promise I'll respond. And if you're ready to go deeper into these practices, take the Sacred Intimacy Snapshot at innerlightcompanion.com. It's a 5-minute assessment that will show you exactly where you are on your spiritual journey and what practices will serve you best right now. Also, I'm developing a 4-week online retreat called Awakening Your Inner Light, specifically for people coming out of high control religion who want to learn meditation, trust their intuition, and rebuild direct connection with the divine. If you want to be on the early access list, email me at Tamara, that's Tamara, at innerlightcompanion.com. Next Tuesday, we'll be back to the Religious Freedom series with episode 21, which is freedom of identity and self-development. Until then, keep meditating, keep trusting, keep remembering. The light is within you. Thanks for listening. As you step into your day, notice which intimacies stirred for you, and then choose one small practice and let it meet you where you are. You want support? Grab the free Sacred Intimacy snapshot, and when you're ready, the full Sacred Intimacy assessment that can guide your next steps. Links are in the show notes. Until next time, walk gently, listen deeply, and trust the light within.